An anti-vaxxer made a video about me, so let's talk about it. This is the first video on this channel, as you can see, so I wanted to introduce myself and let you know what this video is going to be about. So my name is Joelle Wolf. I am a mom and I am an activist. So I was actually at a protest that I organized yesterday, and someone came around filming for his YouTube channel and put out a video today. He already edited it and uploaded it, and it was sent to me. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to make some content to reach a wider audience and kind of get my message out there and what I'm about. And I mean, it was so lovely to get a third-person perspective. Normally I'm just sitting here filming in front of the camera myself. So I wanted to react to this. I wanted to upload the footage for you guys to see. And I also wanted to kind of make some commentary on it and more of what I'm about. So first of all, I held a rally yesterday, a protest of sorts, basically about our local school district trustee elections, because municipal elections are coming up October 15th. Don't forget to vote. And as a parent who has kids in the system, I was really concerned about some of the messaging and some of the hidden agendas that seem to be behind some of the candidates that are running, especially for school board trustees, but also city councilors and mayor. It's important to research who you're voting for. I was under the impression when I started to have kids that Canada was inclusive and moving towards more acceptance, and was socially aware of how important supports are, and especially education and mental health support for every kind of individual. And I thought I was in quite a progressive country, and definitely the past 2 years has shown some of the dark underbelly of not only Canada's history, but also the people who currently live here and are the loudest. So it's really been my mission, especially since having kids, to bring light to the other side, the definitely more leftist and more compassionate and diverse community and opinions that I know are out here in Canada. It just it's been really difficult the past couple of years, I think, to connect with each other, different people who share these ideals, and also be freely able to express them, because a lot of times it does get a lot of backlash. So definitely the past couple of years, to do with the pandemic and a lot of anti-science rhetoric was going around. I personally am someone that likes to jump into the ring and have a good healthy debate sometimes when I'm able to, between, you know, my busy life and being a mom. And also I've attended some different rallies, pro-science rallies, pro-choice rallies, and really encouraging people to show your care for others and be, you know, a true Canadian by protecting your neighbor. That's what we've always said that we were about. Definitely actions have not linked up with that a lot of the time, especially when we talk about our Indigenous community and other racial groups. Like, we have a really toxic history that no one seems to want to address in this country. But when I was growing up, my privileged upbringing, I was told that Canadians cared for others, and that we accepted and loved, and like we were very early to include gay rights for marriage equality. So that I was under the impression when I started having kids that that was the community that my kids would be raised in. And then with the pandemic and everything, a lot of this anti-science rhetoric came out. A lot of really hateful mentalities were mixed into not wanting to get a vaccine. Like, I don't know how, I do know how, but it was very confusing to me at the time how those two things always seemed to be interwoven. It had to be this dynamic of not agreeing with vaccines, but also not being accepting of people whose sexuality or gender identity was different from yours. And I don't know why that doesn't seem weird to the other side that on one hand, they want medical freedom, but then they don't want medical freedom and choices. So it's very strange to me. And it's been in the back of my head for the past couple of years, dealing with this pandemic, dealing with you know, protesters and convoyers and all of this stuff. But when I started looking into who was running for school trustee and I kept seeing this name, this Parents Voice out there, I was like, what is this about? I dug into it deeper and I became really concerned about the kind of hidden mentalities that are driving these candidates and the people that are going to be voting for them, and not a lot of people are aware of that. So that's kind of what the basis of my protest was yesterday, was just to make people aware of the stances that some of these candidates had, and let people make an informed choice, because I mean, on both sides of the divide, I feel like that is something that we very much value, is having informed decision making. So I just wanted to put it out there, and if people were inclined to vote or vote a certain way or change their vote, then I was happy to kind of have those conversations with people. So that's what I organized yesterday, and about halfway through someone came zooming up and he had a camera going and was asking me some questions, and so I jumped in because it was my event, and I answered some questions, and then I guess he edited it overnight and it's up on YouTube already. So I want to kind of react to it for you guys, get my voice out there, because everyone has the right to film in a public place. And you don't need consent to do that. However, people also have the right to reply to it. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now, and just giving some more context and information. If that might help you with your decision making, make sure to vote in your municipal elections. So we're going to react to this video and we're going to get started now.
I believe what people are concerned about with the school trustee is there was the factor that, are they going to make the kids have shots in schools? Are they going to force this? They're really concerned, and people were pulling their kids out of school.
Yeah, I pulled my kids out of school because the masks went away, actually. My kids stayed home for 2 years because the masks and things weren't implemented in a way that was effective, and I did not trust that they were staying on top of it because of anti-vax people that were badgering schools and making it really unsafe for kids who were immunocompromised to attend school. So I removed my kids because of those unfortunate protests.
So you trust, you like the masks, you like the vaccines, do you like all...
Canadians care for others.
Wear your mask. Get vaccinated.
Hey everybody, this is Marcel with ErnieBC News, downtown Kelowna on Thanksgiving Sunday. Yesterday, spoke to some people from ParentsVoice running for this election for school trustees. So now there's a rally against an anti-rally, so it's an anti-ParentsVoice group. So let's check it out.
So I can't remember, actually, he was on rollerblades or something, but love that. Eco-friendly transportation is great. I'm super interested to know how he heard about this, because I didn't advertise it in a lot of places, because I really wanted to talk to people in person, and I also was a little bit self-conscious about my name being attached to it, because I know some people will take things into their own hands and be very aggressive. I had a couple of people come up to me that were pretty aggressive during this, and the fact that I had to legally put my name on all of the things I was distributing was really a little bit nerve-wracking as a mom and a young woman. So I'm interested to know kind of where he heard about this. But yeah, let's see how he approaches our group here. I think he's on like a Segway or a hoverboard. I can't remember.
Hello.
There I am in the back there. He's taking a look at our signage and things.
Morning. Sure. Anyways, let's just ask what's going on. You guys mind if I do a little interview?
So a fair amount of people actually showed up for this event, which I was not expecting, because it was very last minute that I decided to do it. I had to, like I said, I had to get my registration in, and then I had to get confirmation that it was approved before I could hand out my brochures. So it was kind of thrown together last minute, and quite a few people showed up to support and have some good conversations with me, and I appreciated it so much. I have a lot of social anxiety, and so trying to like cold start people and be like, do you want this brochure that I made? Like, it's hard to get that ball rolling, and you definitely feel more confident when you are with a group of people that also believe in your messaging. And you know, are helping out. They helped with the setup and everything. So I was so grateful that everyone showed up, and just wonderful, amazing people. Like I said, it's really isolating, I think, especially in a quite conservative town, to not see your similar views being represented in a lot of the maybe media and things like that are really common here. So, and I think that a lot of that's because we're all busy, we're all doing our thing, and don't have a lot of time to be doing this every Saturday like people have been doing since, you know, at least since February, but even before then there was a lot of anti-vax rallies, so it seemed overwhelming, but it is quite a small group of people that are still at it right now, and there are a lot more people that are kind of fed up with them. So it was super nice to just connect and have some good conversations with people who shared the same concerns that I did, especially around the school board trustees, and they were a really wonderful support through this whole interaction. So I just wanted to give them a shout out.
See what's going on? I just do news for YouTube.
They're like, I don't want to do an interview.
Tell me what you guys are doing here today.
Joelle. Hi.
So I'm going to come rescue them here.
What is going on here on a beautiful Sunday?
So, I am a parent with kids here in the school district, and I just have a lot of concerns about some of the candidates. So some of the information is not being said about some of the candidates.
For the upcoming election on the 15th of October.
Yes. So I just kind of want to get the word out there that we should be voting and paying attention to who we're voting for.
That's really funny. One of the people just went to the back there, so I brought coffee, and I also got some Timbits, and we were all just kind of standing around and chatting. So it made me laugh seeing someone scoot back there and grab another Timbit while we're having this interview.
Absolutely, we should always know information about, you know, everybody to vote for, because a lot of people don't even vote, right?
Exactly. So we're trying to reach kind of that younger demographic and get people involved.
Have you voted for school trustee and city council in your previous?
You know what? This is actually my first year with local elections. I just in the past couple of years started getting involved more with the local MPs and paying attention more to the federal elections. But yeah, my kids are
as
in
we
the
all
school
should
system now, and I realized some stuff was kind of coming into focus that I wasn't comfortable with my kids being in these schools. So I just kind of wanted to open up a conversation and get some.
Do you have anybody in particular that you want to recommend voting for school trustee?
Yeah, so I made these brochures. I'm not associated with any of the candidates. I just kind of read their statements that they've made and answers they've given to some surveys. I really like Val Johnson, Wayne Broughton, and Julia Fraser.
Oh, could I take a little pic of this?
Absolutely.
Down below.
School trustee board. Don't vote for ParentsVoice.
Absolutely.
So what are you voting? Oh, I can hold on to that.
Yeah,
what are you looking for in the school district? What do you want not to happen with the ParentsVoice? You know, like, what did you like that's been happening recently in the last 2 years, and what do you want to continue?
Sure. So things that are really important to me is inclusivity, social awareness, and community values, being inclusive and welcoming to everybody, because we have such a diverse population here in Kelowna, and especially for young kids and teenagers, this is when we really form our self-confidence and our tribe, right? Like our community and our friends. And a lot of times, especially for at-risk youth, teachers and school is
to
a
get
really big support.
To get more to like the points. You know, it's like
He didn't like that answer, and what I was really talking about is forming a protective bubble of kids, because not everyone has a great home life. Not everyone has the resources or the support at home, so it's a really great place to intervene with at-risk kids in schools, whether that's the school counselor, if their teachers notice anything. And kids may not be safe to disclose at home, so school is often the first place that other trusted adults can have communication with children, and the kids can let them know if there's something going on that's unsafe in their home, or you know, emotionally they're not safe in their home. So that was what was really important to me, and I really think that when we are electing people for school trustee, where they are going to be voting and having an influence on how our schools are run, that the focus is on what's best for the kids, because I feel like a lot of, especially this ParentsVoice stuff, is a lot of parent opinion, when there's a lot of science to back up how we support kids impacts their future education and socio and emotional outcomes as they grow into adults. So I don't love the focus being on the parents with ParentsVoice. I feel like it's a lot of posturing and a lot of kind of ego getting in the way of what's best for the kids. So he didn't like that answer. He had something very specific he wanted to get into.
You know, did you like seeing kids' masks in school? Is this a topic for this?
So we're just a couple minutes in. He did not like the direction that was taking the conversation. He wanted to jump right into anti-vax, anti-mask, getting into some of that rhetoric and more conspiracy stuff. So I knew right then, like, it was probably not going to be a productive conversation, but I have a big mouth and I have a lot to say, so I used it as an opportunity for sure.
Because you're anti-parents voice, I'm kind of, you know,
yeah,
there's the mask debate.
It's not a main thing, obviously. Things are changing in schools with the masks and that whole situation. Myself, I am pro-mask.
I made those shirts, and if you want one, there's a link down in the description box. I literally have not sold a single one. I have not really even barely advertised it. I have given away a couple free stickers, but I made those shirts, and if you'd like one, they are, I think, still up for sale.
You can see my shirt I made here myself.
The true Canadians care for others.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that was my mentality. I have some free stickers over there as well. It's something that I'm passionate about, that I think that the science was clear, and the people who valued other people wanted to do the right thing and take care of their community. So it's not my main focus of this. Mine is really more the sexual education, gender identity, inclusivity, and open-mindedness in schools. I'm not...
I would like them back, honestly, but I feel like we're too far gone at this point. The culture is not going to be accepting of it. So that's neither here nor there, and I'm not one making decisions or advocating for it. So it really was not the focus of this protest and this information booth that I had set up.
Advocating for bringing masks back right now, but I do feel like...
But you would be okay if masks were brought back in schools?
Absolutely, yes. My kids still wear masks in stores, so...
Your kids are wearing masks outside?
Not outdoors. Obviously, I'm not wearing a mask right now, but when I go into stores where I'm going to be in close proximity to people, I do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then, like, I guess the difference between the, you know, your, whatever the parents' voice is, they don't want these mandates.
Which there
like
isn't any right now, to be clear. There is no vaccine mandate, especially pertaining to kids. There was one being introduced and talked about for teachers. I don't think that was ever implemented or enforced at all. There is no masking in schools, I can tell you that for sure. They are increasing, keeping up the more hygiene, wiping surfaces down, using hand sanitizer, but I mean, they're kids, they're gross, they're getting their germs everywhere, and that's... you know, I have a bone to pick with that, but that was, again, not the focus of what I was trying to talk about today, or yesterday.
I think that's what they saw the problem was, is their kids everybody was mandated to not just wear masks, but also people involved in jobs in the school district were forced to have vaccines.
Yeah, that was a safety precaution for sure that I agreed with personally, because they were dealing with vulnerable kids.
So you think it's okay for...
And they might come home and infect their families?
Schools are a major hub for community spread, by the way, because you have so many people coming in and out. You have teachers aides, you have support staff in schools, you have parents of kids going in and out doing volunteer work, you have different kids who may have traveled, they might have visited other family in other communities, brought it back to the school and spread. It was definitely a huge undertaking, I think, for schools to even know how to make any policy about it, and certainly a lot of the anti-vax parents made it very difficult to implement any kind of safety measures because they knew there was going to be huge pushback, and it's hard to prioritize not only the safety of immune-compromised kids and staff who work there, but also the safety of staff who's going to be enforcing these things. Definitely there was concerns. I had concerns about either taking my kids to school or taking my kids to go get vaccinated at a vaccine clinic, and you never know when there's going to be a particularly enraged, angry person that might want to take it out on people that really have nothing to do with those decisions. And it's a real concern, because it's funny how the freedom fighters really want to advocate for free speech, saying whatever you want, medical freedom, you know, making your own choices, but there was a deep embedded fear of, is my choice, my own personal medical choice to myself get vaccinated or get my kids vaccinated, is that going to be a target for a radicalized person? and some vaccine clinics, especially for kids, were being targeted. So I really empathize with the school situation on they wanted to implement safety measures, but they wanted to do it in a way that was, one, definitely legal the whole way through, and they did a wonderful job, I think, consulting who they need to make sure everything they were doing was science-based and within their jurisdiction for the different levels of protections they had in place. But also, yeah, just keeping in mind that they, as an education system, have a really big responsibility to make sure that every decision they're making is able to be backed up if anyone ever did try to refute it. So I think they did what they could. I wasn't personally happy with the risk versus benefits for me and my family, so I pulled them out. But yeah, like he came into this conversation really wanting to spit some rhetoric at me, I guess, and get his point across, but it wasn't my main message.
As well, they have exposure.
So if you were a school trustee,
I'm not.
If you were, because you the people in those 4 school trustees for Kelowna, they make decisions about whether all of those people in the school district are.
ParentsVoice also, just aside, they really seem to think they're going to come in as an electoral group and get all these people elected into these different school boards and then make all these decisions they don't actually know, and a lot of them have zero experience in being part of school boards and how these decisions are made. They definitely have a place, and that's why we elect them, because we want them to reflect the values of the community. But I mean, there are levels and levels of this. They're not going to be changing any curriculum. They're not going to be changing any mandates like previous vaccine requirements for vaccine records in schools. That's been happening for decades in Canada and it's not changing. They really want to say that they can. They are sadly misinformed about how much influence they have and what their role is as part of the board. So
coerced into keeping their job.
The involvement of school trustees, the involvement of school trustees is to be part of a board and to really be a voice for what the parents and
do you think it's okay to mandate?
I don't think that's the job of the school trustees.
But no, but they were voting on this stuff though.
They absolutely will vote with the community.
So they were making decisions for parents to create segregation and coercion.
No, they weren't. And that's really unfortunate you're misinformed about that, but I'm going to hand out some more flyers.
That was me trying to leave the conversation. He was not very great at respecting boundaries and social cues, but it is what it is.
So much for kind of getting my information out there, though. I really appreciate it.
Okay, and so what is wrong? What you guys are you're having a rally against the other candidates. Why are you making a rally that says, don't vote for them specifically?
I'm really passionate about making sure the candidates we're voting for take care of our students' well-being, their mental health, and their feeling of being supported in school systems. I was a foster kid. I was homeless when I was attending school, and my teachers were so valuable in making sure I felt loved and accepted, even when my family and my parents did not. It was really important to me to go to school, and it was my...
It's super important that schools are a sanctuary for all kinds of kids, because you don't know. And I think that's a big thing that teachers need to keep in mind is you don't know what those kids are going home to every day. If they have food insecurity, if they have housing insecurity, if there's domestic violence at home, if they are, at risk of becoming homeless or being kicked out of their house, if they express certain opinions or anything like that. The vulnerability of kids is really underrepresented, under-talked about in our society as it pertains to their home situation, because a lot of people are like, what are our kids being exposed to at school? What are our kids being exposed to in the media? Which is all very important. But for a lot of kids, their home is not their safe place. And for a lot of kids, their parents and caregivers do not have their best interests at heart, to the point that they will bar necessary medical care. They will bar necessary community and social supports that kids need to be able to grow into healthy, functioning, happy adults. So I feel like a lot of the time when we talk about these parents' rights and blah, 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 we have to be mindful that not every parent is going to have the knowledge, but also the care and want to be the best version of themselves so they can help their kids become the best version of themselves. So I think it's missing a necessary chunk of the conversation that really it's about the kids and what is best for kids. And it's been shown that things like sexual education early and often protects against sexual abuse and harassment. It is protective against teen pregnancy and STIs. It having conversations about gender identity, inclusivity, different sexual orientations and feelings, especially as they before and during puberty, having more information is shown to be protective of kids from getting into vulnerable situations. So it's important that schools be that first point of contact outside of their home life to backed information that and resources to be able to direct them, if their home isn't a safe place, to be able to get to a safe place. And I am one of those teens that was at risk. And school honestly saved me. I had a couple of teachers that I love with my whole heart that went to bat for me when I was having issues with my foster system and my home life, and I really just wanted to stay where I felt safe and accepted so that I could finish my schooling. And my teachers went to bat for me, and I really appreciate and love them. So many teachers are amazing people that truly do want the best for their kids, and I think it's really sad that we're painting a picture of like kids, teachers wanting to indoctrinate kids and, you know, influence them. I think they just want to be safe places for kids, and I think that most people who have higher education understand that access to diverse opinions and more information helps you figure out what you believe in and how to accurately source information to make educated decisions. When we talk about banning books and limiting education, especially when we're talking about sexual education and body safety, things like that, it makes kids more vulnerable. So that was kind of the message I wanted to get across. He kept interrupting. It was really hard to verbalize anything when someone's rapid fire questioning you, but that was my main goal of the protest, was to have those discussions about why it's important, even if you don't personally agree, to let kids have access to information and make a decision for themselves.
I escaped from my negative home life that was oppressive.
So do you think it's okay though for people in the school trustee to make decisions? So do you trust the medical devices industry as an example?
I'm talking about school.
And again, to be clear, school trustees weren't making those decisions. They were getting information by our provincial health authority and making decisions that were within their scope. Within those health guidelines. So it's really silly to ask me about what I think about the medical industry and as that pertains to school trustees making medical decisions for students, because they weren't. They were taking advice from the experts in the fields and seeing what legal obligations and decisions they had in that situation to make it a workable solution during unprecedented times for the entire world. So it's really funny to me trying to equate every kind of medical device ever with a decision to wear masks in a public space. Like,
no, but they were making these decisions though.
Yeah, I trust science. Yeah,
so do you think it's okay for a child to then make life decisions for himself?
I think it's
pro-choice, right?
And their doctor.
Do you think a 5-year-old is able to make a decision about a medical device or a medical procedure?
I think they should talk about it with their doctor and their caregivers.
So parents shouldn't have a say or have knowledge of when their kids are...
So this is really silly because you do need parental consent. I believe his direction here was talking about vaccination pop-up clinics in schools. Those would be, I'm not sure if they were during school hours or after school hours, but they would be an option to get vaccines, bring your kids in and get them vaccinated, because schools are centrally located in the community. So it's just an access point similar to how we were using churches. That's where I got my vaccines, was in a church. But no one was, you know, stealing your kid from the middle of math class and jabbing something in their arm, or asking your 5-year-old if they want to get vaccinated behind your back. Like, that just simply wasn't happening, and it doesn't make much sense to be asking about it. But like I said, a lot of this is a talking point that he's pulled up from a script, and he wants a quick answer and then he wants to bulldoze into the next one without having a thoughtful dialogue, which isn't really conducive to having a conversation and seeing both points of view, right? He just wants a snappy comeback and then he wants to move on to his next point. So that's unfortunate.
Parents should always be educated and informed.
Parents should have a say when their kids get surgery, or do you think you trust the surgeon?
Yeah, so are you trusting, the medical professional to perform a procedure, or do you want the parents in that operating room, right? Like, of course, there's a say of giving consent, and for someone who's under 18 to have a guardian be able to help with that decision. But even if a parent consents, a child can say no as well. So things like pelvic exams, a parent can say, I want you to check, my daughter's hymen or whatever. That person can still say no. It's still their body. And so again, not every parent has a child's best interest at heart when we're talking about medical decisions. And again, nothing to do with school board trustees, but not every parent is going to be making these decisions based on facts and rational thought. A lot of them have their own preconceived ideas that may or may not be accurate, and they're not putting the child's wishes into consideration. They are their own fully fledged, human being. They have a right to decide what happens to their body, which is the basis of sexual education in schools, is basically just talking about consent, and no one should touch your body without consent. These parents who have these concerns see their children as property. They don't see them as fully actualized human beings that can make decisions for themselves, and they don't take that into consideration when they're trying to take away the decision from everybody. If you don't want your kid to be involved with, sex ed in schools, you can take them out. If you don't want your kid to be vaccinated and they are under the age where they can decide for themselves, you can keep them from getting vaccinated until they are at an age to make that decision independently, which is the goal of parenting, is to raise them in a way that provides them information and empowerment to then continue to make decisions for their own bodies and how they want to live their lives, even if it's not something you personally agree with. So
there's a lot of variables on there. So because what people are concerned about with the school trustee is there was the factor that are they going to make the kids have shots in schools?
And that wouldn't be a requirement ever. Even now you can have an
exemption. People were pulling their kids out of school.
Yeah, I pulled my kids out of school because the mask went away, actually. My kids stayed home for 2 years because the masks and things were
being
implemented
enforced
in a way that was effective, and I did not trust that they were staying on top of it because of anti-vax people that were badgering schools and making it really unsafe for kids who were compromised to attend school. So I removed my kids because of those unfortunate protests.
So you trust, you like the masks, you like the vaccines. Do you like all
Canadians care for others?
One example, a lot of people don't realize the health industry is not always at your best interest, and it's not to make protection policies.
Bloggers actually make a ton of money on these supplements and these blogs and these podcasts. They are absolutely capitalizing on fear.
People capitalize, absolutely. That's a huge point.
Yeah. So
the pharmaceutical company is a very big capitalist too, right?
Our healthcare system is universally funded, which means that there is less involvement in wanting to raise prices and make money off of it. It's really
and it saves the government money. The government would not, and I cannot express this enough, the government would not have faked a pandemic where they lost thousands and millions of dollars in sales revenue, tourism. They had to give so many social programs more funding. They lost so much money. The government did not fabricate COVID to make money off of vaccines. Vaccines are not profitable. You know what's profitable? Having people in ICU. If they wanted to make money, which again, our healthcare is taxpayer funded, it's universal, you don't pay out of pocket for most medical stuff, which is a whole other conversation. If we wanted to make money, if the hospitals or whoever, the medical industry wanted to make money, they would have more people in ICU beds because they take how many medications, they take up, how many scans, how many resources, equipment, all those things. That is where the money lies. And because it is a universal healthcare system, it is more cost effective to prevent disease than to treat it. So it actually saved a ton of money trying to push vaccines out to limit the spread, to then allow less people to be overwhelming the healthcare system, because that trickles down into costing taxpayers and the government especially so much more money. So it always makes me laugh when they say like, oh, the pharmaceutical industry, like it's not the same here in Canada. In the States, maybe there's an argument for it. Again, vaccines are not, and if they wanted to make money, they'd want you sick. So it's just
so do you
very
trust
eye-rolling
all
to me.
medical devices though? Have you heard of eSure?
I don't know why
have you
that's
heard of
important right now.
Because we're kind of getting on the topic. Have you heard of
You're
eSure?
bringing that topic in. I'm talking about school trustees.
No, we're talking about how
thank you.
people are forced to with
I'm not
coercion.
worried about that. I'm worried about teachers
Right.
being able to support students and validate their gender identity. No, it's nothing to
Oh,
do
they were
with
very
school.
concerned about that. Why do you think thousands of kids were pulled out of school?
Well, then I hope that they really enjoy their homeschooling. I homeschool my kids for 2 years, and it's wonderful, and it's such a great opportunity to connect with your kids. So if they want to do that, they should.
Have you heard of eSure?
He's just making any random connection. Like, he didn't like my answer, and he wanted to talk about this eSure thing, which has nothing to do with school board trustees. It has nothing to do with inclusive candidates being elected into positions where they can advocate for kids' rights. It has nothing to do with it. They are not the ones making the medical decisions around vaccines in schools. They weren't the ones making this whole decisions on masks, and it has nothing to do with the medical industry in general. Do I have concerns about medical coercion? Yeah. Is it related to vaccines? No. There's a lot of issues, and they disproportionately impact women, and especially women of color. And I myself am an advocate for patients to be able to communicate and advocate for themselves with healthcare providers that might not have their best interests at heart. It is something that has its time and place to talk about. This wasn't it.
I don't care.
Well, it's a medical device for pregnancy, right?
Okay, have you been pregnant before?
He is barking up the wrong tree with this one. If anyone knows me, my special interest is pregnancy. My field of study is pregnancy. I also support pregnant people. It's literally my job. So it's really funny that he wants to bring this into the conversation.
Have you been pregnant before?
And so you're trusting the vaccines, you're trusting the
I've been
masks.
pregnant 4 times, and I trusted my medical care team to advise me on what I needed for my pregnancy.
Well, there's a documentary on Netflix, because I'm sure you watched
Did you,
called...
how far along did you go on your pregnancies? What kind of birth did you have?
You mean when I was born?
No, when you were pregnant.
Well, I'm a man. I can't get pregnant.
Great, so I don't know why we're talking about it. I don't really need your opinion. I'll take...
I have so much to say. If you want to talk about medical choices being taken away from people, there's a huge discussion about pregnant people, their right to choice of what happens with their bodies and their babies, their children, and the decisions they get to make for their offspring and their future fertility. A whole different conversation that I could rant on about forever. But if they actually cared about medical choice and fully informed decisions and not having government involved with your medical decisions, they would be advocating for that. They're not. They're actually largely anti-choice. So again, trying to bring pregnancy into a conversation about education in schools, it doesn't make sense. It's not appropriate for the time and place. Again, I think he's missing some social cues about what we were discussing and what was important to me, which was the reason he was interviewing me, was seeing what my intentions were, and he didn't let me get a word out. He just kind of wanted to hear himself talk about his points, which is fine, but go make your YouTube video with your face like this if you want to make your points, because that wasn't what I was there to talk about, and it was wasting my time, but it is what it is.
I just kind of in general about the medical device industry
really
and the
care.
medical
I'm
industry.
talking about school trustees.
Exactly.
School trustees being affirming, gender affirming, and inclusive in schools, and that really has
No,
nothing
but
to do
why
with
are you
medical
here
choices.
saying that you guys are anti-ParentsVoice?
Because they have anti-vax conspiratorial views that I don't agree with, and as a...
They've been endorsed by Action for Canada, which
Yes.
is pretty much recognized as a hate. I don't consent to be on your video, so you can turn it off.
You don't
Sources like
have to give
download
consent in a public space, but
Okay, well,
You
not
can be
if
respectful. That caring Canadian thing, right?
yeah, she can stand over here. That's fine.
Great. So I don't really care about medical crap. I care that schools are inclusive and that they validate
Well,
kids,
then,
because that's what
so
we
I'm
need.
just kind of giving an overall perspective of medical crap. You know,
That's fair.
it's worth taking a look at.
Save your breath.
Yeah,
shut it
thank
down.
you so much.
If you have concerns about the medical industry, you should really take it up with them, but I promise you the school trustees have no influence on that. So, yeah, just not the time and place.
For getting my information
So just,
out there.
you know, if
I'm
you
good.
trust the
I have
medical
more
industry,
people to talk
just
to.
take a look at Esure. One thing.
Bye-bye, move along.
Look at that, thousands of women that got hysterectomies
What does
because
that
of
have
that.
to do with school boards?
No, it has to do with the whole point of what you got.
He would be so mad when I tell him I was fully vaccinated, 2 doses, while I was pregnant, and I got my booster while breastfeeding, and I just got my text saying that I'm eligible for another booster that I'm also still going to be breastfeeding for. So that really blows their lid off when I tell them that. But that's what we talk about when we talk about medical choice, right? Is everyone can make that decision for their own body.
Guys, you're doing
No,
it.
is it?
You're
I'm talking
anti-people.
about school boards.
No, but you're here to say anti-rally to the people that are on Parents
No, I'm
Voice.
not.
Well, that's what the advertisement said. You guys don't vote for Parents Voice.
And what does Parents Voice have to do with Esure or whatever it is you're talking about medical
Because
things?
she's
Are they
saying
doing
she
medical?
trusts that
Yeah, they can
people in the
Voice
school
is gonna do
district
medical
are able to make decisions for
Are
everybody
you
else.
saying
Nobody's making
Parents
medical
Voice?
decisions in the school district.
No one's
No,
making medical
that's what do you think happened with the coercion of all the people that had to give up their jobs or get or they were
No,
coerced?
that's a choice. That's a
They were
choice.
they were coerced out of
That's a
losing their
choice.
job.
They
That's
choose
Actually,
to
no, they
get
weren't.
vaccinated
That's
or
not
not.
true.
that's called
They
coercion.
were not coerced out of losing their jobs. They were given
People
the
couldn't go
opportunity
across the
That's not the definition of coercion. Consequences for your decisions impacting your eligibility to do your job is not the same as coercion.
suspended
borders.
for a while if they had to, but nobody lost their jobs and nobody
Who
was
cares about
threatened.
borders? We're talking about school
That's false.
trustees.
They had a choice.
People are not allowed. We're not allowed to leave our country. We weren't for a long time.
Nothing to do with school
People
boards,
were
trustees.
forced away from their job. They were
What does it have to do
either
with school
fired or
trustees?
put on permanent
Sir,
suspension.
What does this have to do with school trustees? That's all this
Because
is talking
people
about.
in the school trustees were making votes. They were voting on decisions for
All right,
kids.
Let's just not anymore.
Anyway,
Nobody was. No, we weren't for kids.
okay, so you don't believe there was any coercion going on. All right, guys. Well, anyways, just wanted to give a perspective. Science matters. Vote for school board. And just kind of get a perspective on how, how some people think and how to have a conversation. So it's a lot of practice to have these conversations. And anyways, guys, what else to say? Have a good one. Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I got to get over and meet the fam.
So it's really interesting that he brings up this how to have a conversation because it's something that I was actually talking to my mom about. She went to school for journalism, and I had tried to do an interview docu-series about engaging with the anti-choice protesters outside of abortion clinics. And so I showed her my first episode in it, and one of the things she said is you have to be impartial. You can't give these leading questions where you're just looking for a certain answer. You have to ask open-ended questions that let them come to their own conclusions about how to answer them, let them fully finish speaking, and then you can ask follow-up questions. And he was not practicing, unbiased journalism with that. He really had his own ideas, things that were completely unrelated to the topic at hand, and he didn't really even let me get my words out there to explain to him what I was there for. He assumed that he knew, and then was only asking questions to confirm his bias. So, again, just it didn't seem like the time and place. It wasn't the debate that he was looking for, and he didn't like the answers that he was getting, so he eventually got the hint and he rolled off. But yeah, I kind of wanted to just fill in the gaps there a little bit of the things I felt were missing from that whole conversation. And also, I mean, it's a great jumping off point to have another resource, another way to connect with you guys if you want some information. So if you're in Kelowna and you're looking for who to vote or not vote for in the school trustee election, there'll be sources down below, and I doubt that I'm going to have time to make another video in time, but I'll definitely be talking about who wins and what else we can do as advocates for inclusive communities after the election. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one, I guess. Okay, bye.